What we can learn from big brands like Coca-Cola when they get taken down by making sudden changes. Today, how to become a favorite brand and stay that way. The 4 pillars of becoming a favorite brand. Hi everyone, this is Canon Wing with Inspiration to Millions. What are your favorites? Everyone has them. Favorite towns, favorite foods, favorite songs, favorite movies. The first thing that comes to my mind, well, it's the movie Elf with Will Ferrell, if I'm being honest. This film catapulted itself into that coveted realm of holiday family favorite almost instantly. Talk about how to come out of nowhere. I won't make it through a single holiday season without watching Elf at least once, probably twice, probably 3 times. And I suppose the reason this movie sprang immediately to my mind as my example is because of one of the most iconic lines. For those of you not familiar with the story, let me give you a little recap. Will Ferrell plays a Will Ferrell-sized elf named Buddy, who hails from the actual North Pole. Okay, a little bit ridiculous. He finds himself in New York and wanders into Gimbel's department store where he is mistaken for an employee in the toy section because he's dressed like one of Santa's elves. This is his normal attire. He's got his little pointy hat and his little shoes. Anyway, he encounters this grumpy, less than enthusiastic floor manager who's put off by Buddy's his jovial, elf-like, borderline manic energy. When he asks him, why are you smiling like that? To which Buddy says, I just like smiling. Smiling's my favorite. And right there, that is probably one of my favorite lines in a comedy ever. It's so simple. But I swear, I've quoted it with my friends thousands of times all year round. And it always seems to just come up randomly. It always makes me giggle, just like I do when I'm telling the story. It never fails. I love the way that movie makes me feel. I can actually name the emotion it gives me. It's kind of a surprising one. It's relief, specifically from the pressure to conform or fit in. Buddy's got that combined with self-acceptance, I can laugh with Buddy. I like smiling too much too. It never gets old for me. Favorites are emotional. Favorites have staying power, and so will your brand. Today, we are going to discuss the 4 pillars of becoming a favorite, so you can come out of nowhere and catapult your brand into that coveted realm of an instant classic. So what are the 4 favorites? Consistency, conversation, comfort, and character. Let's get a little scientific. Research has shown for years that a person makes up their mind about whether or not they like something or someone within the first 3 to 5 seconds. Just enough time to see your brand's name, tagline, logo, or the movie poster in the case of Elf, right? It's called the blink test. And if you Google it as it pertains to branding, you often see it referred to as the dreaded blink test. Mainly because with today's digital market, the average consumer is being swarmed with up to 5,000 advertisements a day. And we delete all memory of 99% of them. That's just human nature. So how is a brand supposed to connect with someone in such a short window of time, 3 to 5 seconds like that? I don't agree with the dreaded part of the blink test. I think of it more as the necessary blink test or the evolutionary blink test because it's evolved out of necessity. How else are we supposed to wade through all of this information? And just like any test, it can be aced by studying your subject. So let's jump in with the first of the 4 pillars. Number 1, consistency. Consistency is so important. It's more than the first pillar. It's the cornerstone. Every other pillar of becoming a favorite is built on consistency. So let's dig into that. Did you know that Coca-Cola, get this, is one of the most recognized English words around the world? I'm serious. In the world, Coca-Cola is second only to the word okay. Okay. Then the real thing that made Coke so iconic, along with its name, is that same simple logo they've used since Frank Mason Robinson created it back in 1885. Are you picturing it in your mind? That swirly script with that bright red and that white. Perhaps you recall when Coca-Cola tried to revamp consumer enthusiasm for the world's most popular soft drink, because that's what you want to do, a revamp, right? So they tried it by changing the formula for the first time in almost 100 years. People freaked out. They went from being A+ on the blink test to a big F in, well, a blink. And that's the power of consistency. When you're not consistent, people run from you. When you are consistent, people will come back to your brand again and again. People are coming back to your brand again and again, right? That's your business plan. Brand loyalty is your business plan. In April of 1985, a date that lives on in marketing infamy if you're a geek like me, Coca-Cola ignited the largest firestorm of consumer angst, the likes of which no business has ever encountered before or since. If you're old enough to understand Milli Vanilli had nothing on Coca-Cola when it comes to this. So get this. When the taste change was announced, people panicked. A man in Texas filled his basement with $100,000 worth of original formula Coca-Cola. Protest groups formed. They were called like the Society for the Preservation of the Real Thing. And Old Coca-Cola Drinkers of America formed and recruited over 100,000 people, all demanding to bring back the original formula, the favorite. Now keep in mind, this was before the internet. Rounding up 100,000 people, brazen enough, willing enough, not self-conscious, to say, bring back the original thing. Rounding up that many people in the blink of an eye was a pretty big feat of dedication to the brand's consistency. These people made a tremendous effort to send out a clear message. Don't mess with our favorite. Obviously, New Coke tanked, and Coca-Cola was restored to its original glory just 79 excruciating days after New Coke hit the shelves. Coca-Cola never released an exact amount of terms, as I'll be telling them right now, about how much money they lost over this major blink test fail. But we do know that they spent $4 million on development of that New Coke, and that they were left with $30 million worth of unwanted New Coke after the fact. So blink tests can be very expensive. So we're going to get you through that today. So when Coca-Cola messed up with their product, they messed with people's relationship to their brand. Now, here's where it gets very, very deep and interesting. In every possible relationship, including the relationship to your customers, to your brand, your customer's relationship with your brand's consistency builds trust, and an inconsistency breaks that trust. The golden rule of branding is that if your brand starts to feel a bit repetitive to you personally, that means you're doing it right. Lean into that emotion. Don't run from it. Think about famous rock musicians with classic hits that have lived on through generations. I am sure the Rolling Stones have gotten a little burned out from time to time playing Painted Black and Angie over and over again since the 1960s. But they have a responsibility to their fans to deliver with consistency the favorites. The favorites that have sustained their brand, their band for decades. Change anything about your brand, the logo, design, the tagline, the formula of your product, any change whatsoever, like an abrupt change that's off-brand, will give your consumers cause to reassess their relationship with your brand. It's the last thing you want. Even if the product you're offering is exactly the same, unlike the Coke situation, changing your presentation will cause consumers to reassess your brand's values. And that's a trust you don't want to tamper with. If people feel they share the same values with your company, they can remain loyal to your brand. Imagine you go to your favorite restaurant and order their famous red tomato basil bisque, and it comes out piping hot and fluorescent purple. What are you going to think? What the is this, right? And the waiter is saying, I promise it tastes exactly the same. And true enough, it tastes the same, but yet you don't still feel like perhaps this is the place you thought it was. It's not consistent. Maybe I don't like the color purple. Maybe I don't associate that with deliciousness or even health. Why is it purple? And you start to consider for the first time, maybe trying somewhere else instead. It's that quick. Defining your brand's values clearly and then standing by them again and again, day after day, product after product, evolution after evolution, builds trust. Consistency allows people to feel safe in their relationships. And when they feel safe, we begin to love. And being a favorite is all about the love. Your customers are going to be building a personal relationship with your brand, and relationships are built on trust. We have a responsibility to our consumers to deliver with consistency because they're always purchasing more than just the product or service. As our brands reach more and more people, they evolve. Actually, they become to start to belong to our consumers. Our consumers who have welcomed our products into their homes, their private lives, they really become theirs. Art has a similar impact on people, just to sort of round out the conversation. Imagine if you're at the Louvre and they decided to slap some like thick eyebrows or purple eyebrows on the Mona Lisa. People would be not just angry, they'd be heartbroken. Right? It's an extreme example, but this is how brands lose millions and millions and they don't recover. Consistency will build trust, and trust will be the foundation for your customers to build a relationship that will endow your brand with the coveted status of favorite. All brands talk, but big brands, favorite brands, they listen, and they listen well. They listen perhaps better than anyone else in their ideal individual's lives, anyone else in that consumer's lives. It's a special relationship. And that's why the second pillar for becoming a favorite is conversation. Brands that cultivate an authentic, trustworthy voice allow consumers to feel heard. A great example of a brand that has created fun, relatable voice is Oreo cookies. I mean, when you think back to when you had Oreo cookies, whether you're still an Oreo cookie eater or this is your childhood, you're smiling, you're happy. You remember that voice. It made an impact on you. And in the past couple of years, Oreo has expanded their Twitter following exponentially by developing a playful, personal, it's like a bullseye for their brand strategy because Oreos are playful. They're kind of personal, right? They're a treat for you, a one-person treat. Followers are now delighted to receive personal responses from Oreo that are made to sound as though the customers are speaking directly to an Oreo cookie. It may seem silly, but people love it. It's playful. It's lighthearted. It's Oreo. Oreo reaches their target market by tugging at the heartstrings of nostalgia and childhood in a whimsical way that makes people feel delighted and important. In a relationship, when we feel heard, all of the favorite people in our lives, picture them now, all of them are typically the ones we feel really know us, like we're comfortable enough with them so that they can really know us. When you're clear on your tone and the voice of your brand and deliver that tone consistently, your consumers begin to feel, like they know your brand, but more importantly, they feel like your brand knows them. They feel like, hey, they get me. Cultivate a voice that delights your consumers. Delighted consumers talk positively about your brand. And as they would like a dear friend. Or get this. This is how important this is. We're all 50 times more likely to buy from word of mouth advertising delighting your customers can make your brand go from being a blip on the radar to being the place to be. Give a friendly voice to your brand and let that personality shine through naturally. And your customers will deliver your message through natural conversations about their favorite things, if you are now one of their favorite things. The third pillar of becoming a favorite is comfort. Comfort is a very powerful emotion to evoke as a brand. All emotions are a comfort. Woo! It's a wonderful emotion to evoke. Comfort is what takes the used cars salesman stereotype just right off the table. Comfort is a seat at the table. Comfort is home. Comfortable is how we feel with our most trusted friends. It's a very coveted spot to feel comfortable with someone. And what's a few dollars between friends, right? People don't often think about money when they are truly comfortable with their experience. Comfort is established with the consistent fulfillment, a promise, or an expectation that's met every time. It's that warm, fuzzy feeling I get every holiday season when I snuggle up on the couch to watch my favorite holiday movie, Elf. My expectation is that I will be delighted when I get to see that scene where Buddy enthusiastically blurts out, "Smiling's my favorite." And the gruff manager barks back, "Make work your favorite. That's your new favorite, okay?" I think it's hilarious. And I proceed to willingly lose my mind in peals of laughter every time because it's my favorite moment. Expectation fulfilled. Achievement of a favorite unlocked. We are all together in this wild uncertainties, unexpected curveballs of what we call life. Our favorites are our touchstones, the tried and true. They are always there for us, just like a trusted friend is always there for us. In chaotic and uncertain times, even in the best of times, which can feel sometimes chaotic, everything might seem to be going topsy-turvy in the minds of your ideal individuals. But Disneyland is still the happiest place on earth, right? And everything is right within the world at Disneyland. That's how consumers are identified with that place. And that's why they have staying power. Of course, brands with longevity occasionally will find it necessary to alter or refine their strategies to keep up with changing fashions or expanding markets. Now, Disneyland's more frequently used tagline is, "Where dreams come true." But can you see how this isn't a stretch at all? Where else would dreams come true if not the happiest place on earth? What do you think would happen if the tagline for Disney were changed from "the happiest place on earth, where all your dreams come true," to "you'll have a really nice time"? Where long lines end in a pretty neat ride. That would be the truth of it, right? You'll have a nice time where really long lines end in a pretty neat ride. Blink test fail, obviously. To pass the blink test, you need to ask yourself, and listen up, because this is how you're going to get it. You're going to get to do it yourself. This is how you're going to get to come out of nowhere and become a favorite. Ask yourself, does my name, tagline, and logo tell a story? Is that story emotional? And is that emotion consistent across all three, name, tagline, logo? It should also be consistent from products and user experience and walking in the door of your brick and mortar shop if you have one, or your website. Is that emotion consistent? Just remember, human beings naturally resist change, definitely drastic changes. Even if the change is for the better. That's why it's so important to be clear about your brand's core values and stay true to your origins. Being a favorite isn't about being different. It's about being consistent, being familiar, being reliable. Which leads us to the fourth and final pillar of becoming a favorite, character. Would you say that Kleenex or Xerox have successful brand stories? They've certainly hit the jackpot recognition-wise, and both brands made a Forbes list top brands last year. The truth, though, they have very little character. Maybe you might say, pass me a Kleenex instead of pass me a tissue. But do you really care if the tissue passed to you is a Kleenex brand? On the other hand, we wouldn't dare confuse an Apple with a PC because Apple stands in a league of its own. No one ever says, I have a Mac, unless they have an Apple brand computer. Apple, by the way, tops the Forbes list of the most powerful brands, as I'm sure you're aware. Apple has character. It has characteristics that differentiate it from all other products of its kind. Actually, the Webster's definition of favorite is preferred above all others of the same kind. Apple has flavor. It's got something special. We know it, we love it, and we want it. Even when you walk into a Best Buy and enter their Apple section, it seems as though you're in an entirely different store. When you walk down the Apple aisle, you step into Apple's world. Turn down the next aisle and you're right back into Best Buy again, with all the other brands and computers slumped together. It's a completely different energetic feel and an emotional feel. Brands that have an edge, a flavor, a distinct personality remind us of ourselves, because we're all unique in our own ways. And we don't want to feel like slumped anonymously together in the same aisle. We want to be seen. We want to be heard. We want to own that aisle. Just like in our most trusted and rewarding relationships with people, brands with unique flavor remind us of ourselves. We are the same in many understandable and relatable ways, but we're also delightfully unique. When your brand has a definite character, we feel like your brand understands us, sees us, and can relate to us. This is what catapults your brand into the coveted realm of favorite. So let's recap the 4 pillars of becoming a favorite. Consistency, conversation, be a great listener, comfort, and character. Define your 4 today. Write down each of the 4 pillars and make a quick list of how your brand best displays consistency, conversation, comfort, and character. Get clear about your 4 pillars of being a favorite brand so you can come out of nowhere and be an inspiration to millions. Thank you for joining me in our talk today about how you can use the 4 pillars of being a favorite. I hope this conversation has served you, because becoming a favorite is all about the love. So remember, the most important step of building your brand, and that is to love what you do and love how you do it. Thanks for watching. Don't miss out on a single thing. Subscribe below. And here's something else I think you'll love.